welcome everybody to New Heart, New World. I'm Rasika Manjari and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about why is life so confusing? Now there are so many sources of knowledge and information out there. It's truly mind-boggling. It is truly the age of information, and this kind of information is also zipped around the planet at warp speed, and there's infinite amounts of it. But meanwhile, the average human being is left bewildered with all of this information, not knowing what information to take in or to utilize as part of their daily experience. So in all these incredible amounts of information, we genuinely often don't know what is actually good for us, because there is an expert on everything and everybody has an opinion. So depending on our mood and depending on what we feel we need at a point in time, then we seek the relevant expert, and of course there's a lot of competition out there, so there is a lot to take in and to understand what is good and what is not so good for our well-being as we live our lives. So of course, with these multiple and varied opinions that everybody has, then you get the fads that come along with it, and of course also the disasters that often follow, as we can see in this clip. So just like those bison in the clip, we can see that we don't have all the information. Our education is limited. However, we like to think that we know just about everything, and of course there is a lot of information out there. However, there is one kind of knowledge that we don't know about, the exception to everything else that we know, and that is the knowledge of what animates our bodies, the soul. So because there's such a lack of this true knowledge, this true information about who we truly are as spirit souls in our truest identities, then there's a lack of unifying and universal knowledge which would bring us together as humanity with a common understanding that yes, we are one in a sense, that we all share a spiritual identity, even though each of those identities is unique. But we are all living in human bodies, which is the point of difference as we see it, as we go about our daily lives on this planet. So this kind of unifying knowledge is conspicuous by its absence, and it's also that kind of knowledge that sets us apart, or that would set us apart as the human beings that we are. With, of course, our capacity for higher understanding and decision making and discernment in many ways. So today's values are very subjective at so many levels. Really, whatever you feel like or whatever works for you is a common catch cry. So we're encouraged to really do whatever takes our fancy and what seems to be right for us. But what happens when we actually don't know? What is that right thing? What is that thing that's going to make us happy or fulfilled or healthy or wise or successful in any sense of the word? So this understanding that, we can do whatever we want and and whatever we feel like, whatever's good for us, unfortunately leads in many ways to a very selfish society. So this kind of society rarely comes together except in times of disaster, and rarely even then. So the truth is that we all need guidance, just like children need discipline to feel loved. And we are no different as humanity, as human beings, even in our adult selves. We all need some kind of guidance, because without it, of course, we flail about trying to find out what's right and not knowing what's right from wrong, and of course, ending up in often disastrous situations as we can find ourselves in the world today. So the word guru is a very fashionable word at the moment. And, however, there are many false gurus as well, because a guru is someone who's meant to guide you, who is meant to discipline you, who is meant to tell you the truth, no matter how unpalatable. Because guru, in the true Sanskrit meaning of the word, means heavy. It means to, actually, the disciple who follows a guru, which is equally as important, comes from the word discipline. So, of course, with the heaviness of the guru, the substance that a guru brings to the guru-disciple relationship, the disciple has to honor that by being disciplined and by following instruction. So, of course, this classical guru-disciple relationship is rarely found in society today, as it was in many disciplines and religious and spiritual traditions of old. However, the concept that a guru is heavy and of substance is important, and that the disciple is someone of disciplines and attentive, honouring of instruction is equally as important. So far removed from these traditional roles that used to be so esteemed in society, and actually fundamental to the fabric of society, we're applauded by those opinions that we seek ultimately until we find the right opinion for us. Of course, once we've found those opinions through the relevant experts that we seek in the matter of our concern, then we're applauded and encouraged to do what's right for us, and to actually do what makes us happy, until, of course, everything goes south. The truth is that often we don't know what happiness really is. Now, the reason we're applauded and encouraged to do whatever we like is usually because we're seeking the opinion that suits us. So until we find that opinion, we're not going to be happy, and of course we're going to denigrate any other opinions that come along the way that contradict our worldview or our own opinion of how our life should be lived. So in this way, our body and our minds are subject to so many conflicting points of view and ways of life. So of course we're confused. Of course we don't know what's right from wrong. Of course we don't know, how to live our lives in the best way possible. So that part of ourselves that feels empty, that craves nourishment and wholeness, is crammed with excesses and often questionable things that often we may not even be aware of, that is actually causing harm to us. Because a lot of the things that we consider normal or consider just a way of life are things that have evolved over time in our societal preferences and experiences to be something that we feel is good for us, but which not necessarily may be. And of course, take fast food, for example. It's so commonplace and it's available everywhere and it's advertised so heavily, but really, is it good for us? So there seem to be so many choices for us, and we're constantly faced with the choices of which sense to gratify, which of our five senses to gratify, and to what extent. So we just have all these choices, but no wonder we're so confused, because we don't even know what food we need to keep our body and mind healthy. We don't even know what's required for good nutrition to lead a balanced and wholesome life, let alone the food that we need, the nutrition we need for the nourishment and upliftment of the soul, the true core essence of who we truly are. So no one really knows what kind of guidance we need to really live that life that we so crave, and that is just so out of reach for many of us. That life of fulfillment and satisfaction and happiness and contentment and wonderful relationships and wonderful ways of occupying our time. I mean, how elusive is that for many of us? A lot, very elusive. So because no one really knows what kind of guidance we need, we all come up with our own opinions and our own guidance and our own philosophies, and of course these often conflict each other, and then we look for the right one, and it may be the right for us at one point in time, but maybe not at another, and meanwhile our health has suffered, and of course this goes on and on and on, round and round in circles, and rarely do we feel satisfied by one thing that is truly answering the call of our soul, which has been neglected sadly, and is in need of the nourishment that we really don't know what to feed it. So, however, even though no one really knows about what guidance we need, the sages of old did. And in their infinite wisdom, they predicted the troubles that we would be having in this difficult age that we find ourselves in, because contrary to popular belief, this age is actually a difficult age, and in many ways humanity is evolving in some ways, for example in scientific advancement, etc. However, in other ways we aren't evolving as we should be. So these sages of old predicted this predicament and actually wrote down the solutions for us, wrote it all down for us, so that we would know, we would have something to access when we found ourselves in dire straits, as we do now. So the Bhakti Yoga philosophy, teachings, lifestyle and culture is informed by these ancient sources of knowledge. And the key point they make is connection with the divine. So connection of the individual soul, which is us in human bodies, to the supreme divine soul, with Krishna or God, and he has infinite other names in many different spiritual traditions. So one key way of connection with the supreme soul is through the Maha Mantra. And we'll chant it together now, as usual, as we do in every video. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we might think to ourselves, well, if Super Soul or Krishna in the heart is so close to us, is so close that we can just connect through a Maha Mantra, and of course, as the sages teach us, and these ancient teachings teach us, that Krishna or the Super Soul or the Supreme Divine or God is actually as close to us as our own hearts, as accompanying our very own souls. So if we consider that he is so close, then why are we so disconnected? Why is it so difficult, or why do we seem so far away from that goal of divine connection, of divine love that is ultimately going to fulfill us as human beings? So the answer to that is that Krishna is a true gentleman. He doesn't force himself on us, and he waits for us to find out in our own good time that actually we feel a lot happier when we are connected with him. Now, for those who are concerned that God is referred to as a male or a masculine entity, then rest assured that God is infinite and complete and has opulences that we can't even imagine. And in his completeness, he also has a feminine counterpart. So Krishna is always united in loving connection with his divine feminine counterpart. And this is what is expressed through the Mahamantra that we just chanted together. So if you would like to know more about the Mahamantra and also about any aspect of Bhakti Yoga, please visit my website at newheart-newworld.com and stay tuned for many more videos on the secrets and not so secrets of Bhakti Yoga. And of course, I would love to hear from you. So if you have any insights or ideas or experiences on why current day life is so confusing, or how you might find it confusing in your individual life, and how you will go about addressing that confusion, then please comment below. So until we meet again, I wish you all well. Bye for now.